For most of my life, I've been very uncomfortable with two very important aspects of my identity: my introversion and my bisexuality. At a very young age, it became clear to me that there were some rather important differences between me and a lot of the other young people around me. I didn't get along well with them, for one. I moved around a fair bit, so my friends didn't tend to last long, and it started to become the case that it took me longer and longer to make friends. I would often spend most of my time with my nose in a book or talking to a teacher rather than playing sports or socializing. None of that appealed to me. And as I got older, things only got more complicated. I realized that I was definitely attracted to women, but that I was also attracted to men. And it's normal to be attracted to women. So that's what I went with. Everything in my environment told me, you should be attracted to women. People are attracted to women. Men are attracted to women. You're a man. And so I assumed that I was straight for a long time. Not assumed. I thought of myself as straight for a long time, despite the fact that I knew that it was more complicated. But I knew at the same time I wasn't gay, because I was attracted to women, right? So it was this weird feeling of just not really being able to understand or think about my own sexuality in any comfortable way. It became something I pushed to the back of my head and tried not to think about to the best of my ability. It wasn't until high school that I discovered that bisexuality was a thing. And even then, it became something that I still didn't want to think about much. My bisexuality and my introversion became two of the things that I felt least comfortable about. And they're two of the things that make me who I am, so I felt generally just uncomfortable in my own skin constantly. That was at least until spring semester of last year, when I was invited during the second weekend of school to attend the National Creating Change Conference, the largest and longest-running LGBTQ conference in America. It's held in Washington, D.C. annually, and I believe last year's was the 33rd year running, and there were about 3,500 queer people in attendance. I remember walking into the hotel and just hearing hundreds of different queer voices and seeing just crowds of people who looked and talked and felt as weird as I'd felt my whole life. I came away from this conference with a lot of affirmation of two things: my bisexuality and my introversion. My bisexuality was a huge topic on the second day of the conference, where we had a day-long breakout session centered on bisexuality. I spent about 9 hours straight in a room with 90 other bisexual people. And this was the first time I'd ever talked to another bisexual. Now, I'd been going to LGBT groups since roughly junior year of high school, but I'd always gone with the attitude of it being a place where I could go to support my friends. Never some place where I could look for support myself. I'd been going to groups for about 4 years by the time I'd gone to Creating Change. But in those 4 years, I had never once spoken up about my own experiences as a queer person. It just felt like it wasn't for me. Now, during the breakout session, I learned a little bit more about why that was. Bisexuality is the most common sexuality among the LGBTQ spectrum, but it's the one that faces the most stigma from both the queer community and the straight community. We're often seen as either not being able to make up our minds, or going through a phase, or people who'll sleep with anything. Neither of those are true, but both stereotypes are perpetuated both among the gay and straight communities. So we often feel like we've got no place anywhere. And that was largely how I'd been feeling. But no one had ever expressed that to me, and I had no clue that that was something that other people were going through until talking to other people who were going through it. It was tremendously affirming, and has led me to be much more comfortable exploring and talking about my own sexuality, both with other people and, more importantly, with myself. I've had more conversations with myself about what bisexuality means in the last year than I have in my entire life, and I've felt a healthier and more engaged person becoming it. The day after that, the conference was a short breakout session that I was very excited to go to called Activism for Introverts. I wish I could go back. It was a room full of probably 50 or 60 introverts, all complaining to each other for about an hour and a half about the struggles of being an introvert and working with activism. It was one of the most affirming things I have ever experienced, because I came out of it feeling like, yes, I do have talents and skills to offer social movements. Despite the fact that I'm not the one standing at the front holding a megaphone, my efforts are just as valuable as anyone else's. I have talents and skills that make me able to contribute uniquely in a way that other people aren't. Because of my experience at this conference, I've been able to come back into my life and take on a more active role, both in my relationships and in my understanding of myself. It's given me the courage and confidence necessary to face things that had made me previously very uncomfortable. Talking about my sexuality with my friends and my family. After this conference, I came out to my family. It helped give me the courage to perform in my first drag show, and not my last. And as well to run for and achieve the presidency of Regis University's Queer Student Alliance. Now, before this conference, I don't think I would have made a very good president. Hell, I don't know if I do now. But I think that I've never been more prepared in my life for the leadership roles I've taken on now, and for having hard conversations with myself about my own sexuality, even when it makes me uncomfortable, because of the experience at this conference. It was truly a pivotal moment in my life, and I'm excited to go back again this year. Thank you.